You've seen from the title of this video that it isn't going to be much fun. It's not one where I'll make a bunch of jokes or chat about my week, saying that everything's okay and I'm the same as always. Today I'm going to talk about my darkest point. Last year on the 27th of December, I thought about killing myself. I considered the whole possibility, what would happen if I did, who would care, if anyone, and how I could do it. It wasn't the first time. I'd spent weeks walking home from uni in tears, crossing the road slowly and thinking that I wouldn't even care if I was hit by a car right then. I thought about dying a lot, but I never did anything. I also used to hurt myself quite a bit. When people talk about self-harm, mostly they have the idea that there's cutting involved, but I never did that. I used to scratch my hand. I talked about it a lot in my earlier videos. I used to do it when I was nervous, when something was really going wrong, or my mind wouldn't stop closing in on itself and I'd scratch myself so bad I'd start bleeding, or my skin would peel off and it really hurt. It was a distraction. If I focused on that pain, then I wouldn't focus on the pain inside my head. So what happened on December 27th? I was just a few weeks on anti-depressants and they hadn't really started working yet. I was getting all the really bad side effects but none of the reward. So everything I was feeling was heightened and so much worse than it normally probably would have been had I not been on them. I had a phone call that night with a friend that left me absolutely heartbroken and angry and upset, and just I felt so many emotions that night that I didn't really know what to do. I'm not going to go into the situation or the context of the phone call. That's between me and them. Some things don't need to be on the internet forever. That being said, I can tell you that afterwards I felt like the world was crumbling down around me. I felt like one of the only people I could trust in my life, who I loved, had turned against me and wanted nothing to do with me. But at the same time I felt like I was the reason. I'd pushed them away. I'd made the situation what it was. I hated myself for ruining my friendship. And I know I only had myself to blame because really they didn't do anything wrong. It was what tipped me over the edge from barely dealing with my mental health to literally not wanting to deal with it anymore. I was lying in bed. I couldn't stop crying and I spent hours feeling that way. I cried for what felt like forever. I was still on the waiting list to be put into my university's counselling system. So at that point I hadn't really had an outlet to kind of express everything I was feeling and maybe the reasons why I was feeling the way that I was. I remember lying in bed and considering calling the Samaritans. I googled the phone number, I looked up different things I could do to help myself or people I could talk to, because even in that moment the rational part of me was trying to help the rest of me. It was telling me not to do anything stupid. It told me to think. For a little while I didn't. I was in bed crying and scratching my hand. It started bleeding and it was the first time that I'd done that in probably about 2 weeks at that point. Then I could hear the TV downstairs and my cat meowing and my dad and my brother talking, and I kind of snapped out of it. I stopped looking around my bedroom for things to hurt myself with. I stopped looking out the window at the night sky and wondering if the drop from my bedroom window to the ground would be high enough to kill me rather than just give me a broken leg or something. That was another reason why I never actually did it. The what ifs. I'm thankful for my overactive brain in that respect, because if it had shut off completely and let the depression have its way with me, then I can't say that I'd be here. But as well as depression, I suffer from major anxiety as well. And without the anxiety telling me that What if it doesn't work and you have to deal with the consequences? I know that I very easily could have made that decision. I didn't want to face what was happening to me. I didn't want to face that I thought I'd lost my best friend. I didn't want to face the fact that I was studying for a master's degree that I didn't care about, that was too stressful and that I hated. I didn't want to face the fact that I was going on interview after interview and not getting a job. I felt like my relationship with my now fiance was falling through my fingers, and I didn't want him to have to deal with my crap anymore. But the rational part of me was there. It's always been there. But sometimes it just takes a little while and an extra push to get me to actually listen. I got out of bed. I walked downstairs with my bloodshot eyes. I'd vomited a couple of times that night after the phone call because it had honestly made me feel so bad that my body just kind of malfunctioned and I was just so drained. I sat in the lounge with my brother and my dad and my cat, and I laid there. My brother asked me what was wrong, and for once I told him the truth. I told him I'd spent the evening in bed in tears, having a bad night. They were okay with it though. They knew what I was going through. They might not have understood, but they knew. They let me lay there without questioning it. I sat with my family and I felt comfortable. And I realised that if I'd done anything to myself, what would they have done? How could I let my brother or my dad walk upstairs to find me? That broke my heart even more than anything that had happened before that night. Later that night, my boyfriend came round to see me. He'd just finished working quite late. He'd had a very long shift. And then he came over for a couple of hours and hugged me in bed. That was it. Then I cried and I fell asleep. When I woke up, he was still there. And I actually felt a little bit of happiness. Someone was there for me when I needed it. And even when I'd fallen asleep and let everything out, he didn't leave. He stayed. While I was writing the script for this video, I've been reading a script because I wouldn't be able to do this without it. I had to stop and take a moment to reflect on how lucky I am to have people like him in my life. I'm lucky to have people that care about me like that, even when I feel so overwhelmed by my life and my stupid problems that I don't want to be here anymore. Lots of people never gave up on me. I'm glad I didn't do anything stupid, and I'm glad I'm where I am today. So my message to everyone who might be feeling the same way or is going through a tough time, or anyone that watches my videos, just be strong, even at your lowest point. As hard as that is, you've got to push through. You have to. Because there are people that care about you. There are people that want you around, even if it doesn't feel like it. And they will be there for you when you need them. People love you. Just believe in yourself. And I promise, even though it might feel like it's never going to happen, you will get through it one day. You'll get through whatever's happening.